How did your personal life, as you were going backwards, how did that result in you making poor decisions? Like, what were some of the poor decisions that you made, and how did you negatively impact the company?
Yeah, so one of the big ones was not being able to see people that I should have recruited and trying to own everything myself, right? Because I wasn't stopping and thinking and going, well, should I delegate this task? Should I get someone else to do it? What is the second order consequence of if I delay doing this task because I'm trying to do everything myself? But also then I couldn't do the grind the same way. So I'd like push up into the afternoons or evenings and I'm like, don't crash. And then I'm like, I'm crashing. I'd have another cup of coffee. And then I'm like, oh, you know what I'm going to do, James? Genius idea. I'm going to skip the gym today. And then I'm like, I don't have time for a meditation. None of this time, which means that everything else that sort of reset myself and reclarified everything, I just like stopped doing because the time to put into the business was more important. And then it was just a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Can I expand on those two? Because they're two really cool ones and super common.
Go for it. That's what we got you here for.
Cool.
Tell me how
terrible this Do I have to do another disclaimer or what? But
potentially, we'll see how you do.
We'll go. Just interrupt if you need to. But so we'll start with the second one first there, which is where you have low energy. And this is like the most common business owner thing all the time. When you wake up tired in the morning, what do? You go reach for a coffee. Right?
Damn straight.
Coffee, cigarette, some people joint or cocaine, bankers. Right?
There's your disclaimer point.
Yeah, there's a disclaimer point, right? I'm not recommending you do that, right? Or do if you enjoy it, if you like it, whatever. I'm not here to judge you. I got a funny story on that too. But pretty much when you wake up in the morning, you reach for a stimulant. That's the very first thing that you do. Now, what most people don't think of, right? They don't think of, why am I waking up tired this morning? Like, why has this occurred? They just say, I am tired, therefore I need to fix it, right? Which is kind of logical. But if you don't know the root cause of it, then you're never going to fix the actual issue. You say, I'm tired, therefore I need more energy, so I'm going to smash a coffee to give me a little bit more adrenaline, a little bit more dopamine, and that's going to get me through. And what that actually does is that caffeine from the coffee sits in your nervous system, right? The nervous system is it's like your brain and all the nerves throughout your body. It controls every single thought, feeling, mood, action, reaction. Every decision that you make in your life is regulated by this. Specifically, one part of it called the autonomic nervous system, right? This is like your fight or flight and rest and digest. You may have heard of those terms before. And so within this nervous system, what you're doing with the caffeine is you're jacking it up, right? You're getting it going. You're getting a little bit more adrenaline happening. You're shifting yourself into a stressed out state, right? A fight or flight state. See, when our body is stressed out, we're more energetic. So for example, have you guys ever like not eaten for a prolonged period of time, done a fast for a day or 2 days or something like that?
Definitely. We're both in the fasting camp now.
There you go. You feel wired, don't you? Like wired after what you'd think. I didn't eat. You're like, I didn't eat. I should have less energy, but you get more. So that's an evolutionary thing where when we're starving, you don't want to relax and chill out because you're not going to get any food, right? Let's go back 1,000, 2,000, 10,000 years ago. When you're starving, you need to fucking get up and go, because if you don't get up and go, you're not going to go and catch that deer. If that deer walks past and it's the first deer you've seen in a month, right? It's the only bit of food you've seen and you're like, fuck it, too tired, right? You're going to die. So those people who did that, they're dead. They never survived. Whereas the people who were like wired and waiting for that deer went up, slit its throat, and then have gone and eaten it. And that's created us now, right? And that's how we've come. So whenever you are in this fight or flight stage, you're going to be super energetic and super hyped up. And caffeine is pushing us into this fight or flight stage. Now, the one downside of this is that when we're in fight or flight, yes, we have loads of energy, but we also don't sleep well. We don't recover well. Why? Because we need to be alert. We're in fight or flight because we need to be alert. Going back once again to our evolutionary roots, if you're starving, you need to be alert, but also if a tiger's going to come and eat you, probably not the best time for a nap, right? So you want to be awake. So it's going to keep you amped up and it's going to keep you wired, which is then going to mean that you're not going to sleep terribly well at night. Now, what happens when we don't sleep well at night? Wake up tired the next day. Right? And so what do we do when we wake up tired the next day? Let's have another
Two coffees.
Two coffees, right? And now we're twice as wired and we're great because it feels fucking awesome to be stimmed off our heads, right? And then so that night we sleep even worse. So the next day, what do we have? 3 coffees, right? And it just goes on and on and on and on, right? And we actually see this a lot. We've worked with a lot of truck drivers. Coffee's a gateway drug. All right, Grant, be careful. Coffee's a great gateway drug. We actually have a lot of truck drivers who come to us who are hooked on meth and speed. And they use meth and speed like sometimes actually just light up the glass Barbie and have a little toke. Sometimes they're on prescription things, like you see a lot of guys using modafinil. I used to punch a heap of modafinil back in the day. Dexamphetamines, all the legal prescription drugs, they're on them to keep themselves awake because now coffee has no effect on them whatsoever because they've desensitized it, because their nervous system is so fucked up. Does that make sense?
Completely.
And so,
can I share a story on this one? Because I'm interested in your take to go into this further, because my experience is opposite to Grant's. So Grant got into business. Let's say his business got hard, and then he neglected his health. And I neglected my health, but in a different way. Is I started riding a bike because I found it helped me cope with the stress of business, and then that escalated to riding 400 kilometers a week. I'm like ramping up this fitness campaign to deal with the stress of work and just burning myself into a deep, deep hole. Like I when I ended up in the cardiologist and he's like, you need a pacemaker, which was actually a symptom of my nervous system being so messed up. There's that I had a, what would they call it? A heart algorithmia anomaly. There was weird things going on and it was a bit of a wake up moment. But I found the opposite end of that where it was like coping mechanisms. So I can see, even as you've unpacked this, it's like kind of the same thing. It's the destruction of the nervous system that's become the pressing thing leading to poor decision making, which is just fascinating. Is that another one you commonly see with business owners or people in general, where it's like they've got their...
Yeah. I did that one massively, man. Everyone does it. When you get stressed, right? You have to release that stress in some way, shape, or form. So look at kids, for example. I love that you brought this up, Charlie. You look at kids. When kids get frightened or kids get stressed, what do?
They run away.
Run away, cry, shake. Have you ever seen a kid who's like shaking? They do that?
I have one in my household, right? I see all of these.
Yeah.
That's why I'm like,
I hope he's not too scared in your household. Yeah. You are scary though, Charlie.
We did have an event last night where we were concerned a tree was a monster. Things went down.
We've had that. My dog gets that one too. I can understand that. But yeah, when kids will shake, right? They'll shake, they'll cry, they'll run, but there'll be that energy which gets out. So our nervous system, whenever we get stressed, it's not good for it to hold on to it. You need to get rid of that shit. But what do we do as business owners? Well, you can't show emotion, right? You can't show weakness.
You grind.
You can't show all this stuff. You can't talk about it. You can't do it. So we just bottle it up. And so you'll actually find a way to go and get rid of this stuff. I mean, Charlie, we talked about this when you've been coaching me, and that, my thing is, business is going well for us. We're setting things up and it's requiring less of my attention. I'm more on the research and development side and training our team and optimizing that sort of thing. And it means that I don't have to hustle and grind like I used to. And it means I get bored. And I come up with all these ideas. And we talked about how I've now got to get a hobby to go and displace this energy. And you've got to put this energy that I would otherwise be fucking potentially blowing up my business. I mean, how many business owners have a really good business, get bored, and like, oh, I got a great idea. This is too easy. I'm going to make this way harder, and we're just going to do a complete left hook on the business and do something new, right? We get that all the time because you need to channel that energy that way. The same thing goes with stress. Is when we have stress, you need to channel that energy out and get it out. And that's where you'll cycle 400 kilometers, every single week. That's where you'll end up going and doing, a lot of guys do drugs as an escape. A lot of guys, sex. A lot of business owners lose half of their wealth. Do you know how they do it?
Marriage.
Well, it's not marriage, actually. It's divorce. But yeah, divorce. Marriage is good. I'm a big fan of marriage, big advocate for it. Divorce,
it was a leading indicator.
Not so
That's
much.
What I was going for. The leading
indicator. Disclaimer: we're not telling you not to get married as well. We're going to put that one there. But divorce.
No, wait. I think we're allowed to give marital advice. I don't think we can disclose that one. I don't think there's a qualification.
No, don't do it. It's a trap.
ASIC doesn't govern that, boys. We're on.
Just don't let Soph, my wife, listen to this episode, please. Just put an exclusion. Everyone but Sophie Welsh. I'll give you her email address, phone number, everything, so she can't see this. But no, like divorce is the biggest one. And why do a lot of business owners get divorced? Because they cheat. You know, they cheat, they break trust, they don't have time, they're off spending and getting rid of this energy in other ways. And so, yes, we need to get rid of that energy, and we need to find a way to channel that energy and to actually utilize it appropriately. We're not taught this. Nobody's ever taught this stuff growing up. You have to find out. I mean, by the time I was 24, had already burnt out twice, right? By the time I was 24, which is ridiculous. You're never taught this. You're never shown how to do this. And I think that's why we have so many guys who reach out to my team and I for help, because there's nothing at all on how to fix this. So what we need to do is, once again, as you said, Charlie, it all comes back to the nervous system. When you have this stress building up and you have this business, which could be doing really well, but there's a lot of pressure on you, you need to find a method of getting rid of that, because otherwise I can guarantee you'll fuck yourself up in some way, shape or form. It could be porn, it could be drugs, it could be food, it could be infidelity, it could be any of these things. Exercise. And people also think, exercise, that's a positive one. Well, it's not so positive when you're talking to your cardiologist about getting a pacemaker. It's all these extremes, and we need to monitor it appropriately. Does that make sense?
Hey, fellow business owner, if this topic and value-packed short video has resonated with you at all, and you want to dive deeper into creating wealth inside and outside your business, check out the full episode by clicking the link on your screen or in the description right now.